So, J. Ruud, what lovable book are we talking about today?
Well, Stacey Margaret Jones, I'll give you a hint. All American literature comes from one book.
Is that in the book?
No, it's a quotation about the book.
Well, it's not Moby Dick because we already did that, so... Welcome to Between the Covers, the weekly podcast in which author J. Ruud presents one novel from his carefully curated list of the 100 most lovable books in the English language, and I ask him things. I am author Stacey Margaret Jones, and I have the great good fortune of being married to Jay. So that's why every week when I ask him if I've read a book, he knows, because he knows what I have read. All right, so second clue.
Clue number 2, Grangerfords and Shepherdsons.
Well, one more clue, please.
All right. Clue number 3, You Can't Pray a Lie.
Have I read it?
Yes.
The Scarlet Letter?
No.
Oh.
Interesting, though.
Well, I was thinking about the names of the people. It sounded like that.
What
and
if
also, Scarlet Letter is such a pivotal and important American book.
It is indeed. But we're not talking about it this week.
But I'm wrong.
If I had made the third clue, all right, I'll go to hell, would that have helped?
I don't know.
Okay, this is...
I've read it, though.
You have?
Clearly, it stuck with me. It's
been
really
while.
meant a lot to me.
It's been a while, I think. This is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain.
I don't think those clues were very good.
Well, I guess I could have said Tom Sawyer.
Well, then I would have said Tom Sawyer, although I wouldn't have, because I know that you don't think Tom Sawyer would belong on this list. All right, so this is going to be an interesting conversation because while I do really like the novel of Huckleberry Finn, I'm not a big Mark Twain fan. So,
Well,
here we go.
Here we go. It was Ernest Hemingway who said, all modern American literature comes from one book by Mark Twain called Huckleberry Finn.
Okay. So I guess Hemingway was saying that his his books all came from it.
Well,
His and everybody else's.
His and everybody else.
All right. Okay. Well, when did this book come out?
1884.
Okay, that's what I thought. And how long? It's not long.
No, maybe 300 pages.
And I'm sure we'll get into this, but isn't this one of the most banned books in American literature?
It is indeed.
All right.
And this episode is going to be coming out the week before Banned Books Week.
I
So
figured. Very timely.
Heading right into that.
Right. It's a good time to talk about the books that are often under attack, pulled from shelves, protested, etc. And we'll get into all that. So before we dig into the lovability of this book, who else likes this book? Let's shift the focus from who doesn't to who does.
Okay, well, Ernest Hemingway, obviously. Is one. T.S. Eliot, you don't usually think of T.S. Eliot and Mark Twain in the same category.
I never have.
But Eliot actually wrote an introduction to an edition of Huckleberry Finn in 1950. And he said, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is the only one of Mark, you probably agree with this, is the only one of Mark Twain's various books which can be called a masterpiece. I do not suggest that it is the only book of permanent interest, but it is the only one in which his genius is completely realized and the only one which creates its own category.
Yeah, I do agree with that, actually.
So it's also on the Observer's list and the Norwegian Book Club's list of the 100 greatest novels in world literature. It's on the Guardian's list of the 100 greatest English language novels. The Oxford American magazine.
I am familiar.
Yes, locally published, in fact.
And our family member used to work there.
That's right. They ranked it as number 4 on their list of the best Southern novels of all time. The Spanish Journal El País listed it as number 12 on its list of favorite books of 100 Spanish authors. Entertainment Weekly ranked it number 62 on their recent list of the top 100 novels. Penguin Classics 100 Must-Read Classics, as chosen by our readers, ranked it as 73rd on a list of best books listed for high school students by William J. Bennett.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
The book ranks as number 2, as it does on a list from Library Hub called Quintessential American Fiction, according to the rest of the world. And on the American Scholar's old list of the 100 best American novels, 1770 to 1985, Huck Finn comes in as number 1.
So it's bona fide.
It's bona fide.
It's got the bona fides. All right. Well, are you ready for the down and dirty summary challenge?
I am. I am ready.
Will you earn the harps of glory, or will you go down with the trombone of defeat while trying to remember minor characters' names? Brief summary.
Okay. Well, Huckleberry Finn is a picaresque novel of a young boy of 13 running from his brutal and abusive father in antebellum Missouri, who joins forces with a runaway slave named Jim and takes a journey down the Mississippi River on a raft. They meet a wide variety of characters, some admirable, some disgustingly greedy and hypocritical, and Huck grows a good deal through these experiences. It's also a Bildungsroman, or coming-of-age novel.
We're going to have a vocab lesson after this.
And Huck eventually learns to put aside the racist attitudes that characterize the society he's grown up in, and to respect and empathize with Jim, whom he is determined to help become a free man.
Okay. All right. So I have a couple things I want to settle. You said this book came out in the
1884.
But is it set before the Civil War?
Oh, yeah.
Or
yeah.
is it just the Jim Crow that keeps
No.
Jim?
No,
Okay.
Jim is enslaved. It's pre-Civil War, 1840s Missouri.
Okay. All right. I thought so. I mean, I have read it. It's been a long time.
So it's set when Mark Twain or Samuel Clemens himself was probably about the age of Huck Finn. And it's set in a small town in Missouri, which is where
Mark Twain
grew up.
That's interesting. So Mark Twain, I'm just going to use Mark Twain. Mark Twain writes this book from the perspective of Huck Finn, right?
Right.
And he set it in the time in which he was Huck Finn's age, so he has his own access to boyhood in that time and place.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
And to the society that Huck Finn is growing up in.
Right.
Which colors everything that he thinks.
Right.
At least in the beginning of the book.
You said earlier this novel is picaresque, so why don't you remind us? I know what that means, I think, but I'd rather have you explain it.
A picaresque novel is one sort of on the road, traveling somewhere.
Oh, I thought that meant that it was like episodic.
Well, and it's usually episodic.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's tied together by a theme, or as you say, a traveling, like these things happened on our journey.
Yeah.
Is it also a quest?
I think you could probably call it that. I mean, it begins with a quest for Jim, it's a quest for freedom. For Huck, it's a quest for Huck, it's a quest for freedom too, because he wants to get away from his father.
Right.
And he also wants to get away from the widow Douglas, who has been taking care of him, but wants him to go to school and all that kind of stuff. And he's not all that interested.
He can't live with such constraints.
No.
That's right.
But by the end, it turns into a quest just to get Jim saved.
Mm-hmm. So
safe.
he puts his desires second because he's growing as an empathetic person.
Yes.
And he realizes that he has abilities.
Yeah.
In this society that Jim needs.
Yeah. I mean, since we're talking about that, let's just talk about the climax of the book. The climax of the book happens when these two crooked characters, the Duke and the Dolphin, the Duke of Bridgewater and the Dolphin, by which they meant to say Dauphin,
Yeah.
the heir to the French throne,
Right.
They basically come on the raft and take over. And they actually sell Jim to a farmer way down the river. And Huck finds this out and thinks, okay, maybe what I should do is write to the widow Douglas and tell her where her escaped slave is so that she can claim him.
Because that'll be better than where he's been sold to.
Yeah, that'll be better. It's somebody that at least knows him. But then he's also thinking, well, what he really should be doing is working to get Jim free from where he's been sold. But, he thinks helping an escaped slave is just against everything he's been brought up to believe. Because he's coming from this society that believes that slavery is sanctioned in the Bible, that slaves are property, and that a low-down, dirty abolitionist is just heading for hell. And Huck thinks, he's going to go to hell if he tries to bust Jim out of his enslavement. So he's writing the letter to the widow Douglas, and he has it all written, and he says, held it in my hand. I was trembling because I had got to decide forever betwixt two things, and I noted. I studied a minute, sort of holding my breath, and then I says to myself, all right then, I'll go to hell. And I tore it up.
Yeah.
And that's
the moral maturity of the moral moment that he has.
Yeah. And Mark Twain said that a sound heart is a surer guide than an ill-trained conscience. Because Huck basically, what he thinks of as his conscience is what his society has told him is the right and wrong thing to do.
And in a way, you can see that Huck is more likely person to recognize the moral action in spite of the societal mores, because he is on his way to escape the constraints of his society. Not everybody, obviously, not everybody in that town is going to be open to this experience, right?
But he is a kind of outsider. He's kind of alienated from his society anyway. And Twain said, Huckleberry Finn is a book of mine where a sound heart and a deformed conscience come into collision, and conscience suffers defeat.
And that's interesting because the conscience is deformed by the society.
Yeah. Formed and deformed.
Right. That's very interesting because you think of all the things that people tell themselves to maintain their sense of themselves as moral while doing things to other people that are not moral, right?
Yeah.
And in his society, like you said, that, the Bible sanctions slavery, the abolitionists are going to hell, these things. But it makes me think of what I read in Angela Davis' book, that capitalism presupposes a free or cheap labor force. Yeah. Because capitalism is always more money, right? More, or even all the money. And in his society, the free and cheap labor forces were all kinds of women, I'm sure, and enslaved people who were enslaved because of race.
Yeah.
And their society, they needed this moral belief of their people.
When you read the early chapters in the novel, you get this picture of Jim that's almost like a minstrel show caricature. And that's because we're seeing him through Huck's eyes at that point.
Right.
One of the big defenders of Huck Finn against those who would like to censor it has been Ralph Ellison.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, the author of Invisible Man,
Oh, I
won
know.
the 1952 National Book Award.
I've read that.
He suggested that people who criticized Mark Twain for his stereotypical descriptions of Jim in the early chapters had got the wrong end of the stick. He said, one also has to look at the teller of the tale and realize that you are getting a black man, an adult, seen through the condescending eyes, partially, of a young white boy. He reminds you, Huck is not Mark Twain.
Right.
Huck is Huck.
Right. Huck is a
And
fictional character.
And what you're getting is his vision of of the man that he's seeing as influenced by the society that he's lived in.
Right. He's not going to have his dynamic moral arc if he doesn't start somewhere
Yeah.
that needs changing.
Yeah.
Or that, that the reader can follow the shift.
Yeah.
So, and also, we're talking about this, and I was talking about Angela Davis. I think that was in Women, Race, and Class. But I think the thing that makes this lovable, I won't speak for you, but for me, is that it's not an epic, didactic novel with moral themes in that it's presented to you in a prescriptive way.
Yeah.
It's one person, one likable person, moral journey.
Yeah, yeah. And you see Huck gradually develop this new attitude as the book goes on. So there's a spot in relatively early in the novel when the raft has gone by Cairo, Illinois. Originally, the plan was that they would go to Cairo, Illinois, in the Free State, when they got there on the river, and get Jim off there, from which she could escape to freedom. And there's a fog, and they go by Cairo without realizing it. And of course, you can't go back upriver on a raft, so they're going to have to keep going downriver. But anyway, they get separated, and then Huck finds the raft again. And he thinks it'll be fun to trick Jim into believing that he had dreamt the whole thing. So he pretends this, and Jim ultimately shows resentment about being tricked or treated like a fool when Huck admits the truth. And it's the first significant sign that he's breaking away from his societal training.
You said you mean Huck is breaking away?
Huck,
Okay.
that Huck is breaking away from his societal training. He goes through a kind of a period of reflection, and then he says, it was 15 minutes before I could work myself up to go and humble myself to a N-word. But I done it, and I warn't ever sorry for it afterwards neither. I didn't do him no more mean trips, and I wouldn't have done that one if I'd have known it would have made him feel that way. So he begins to think of Jim as somebody not just some old fool that he can play tricks on.
Well, and he's from a world in which they would rather kill a black person than apologize to them.
Yeah, and he apologizes.
Right.
Because, of course, he has a good heart, and even if his conscience is deformed, as Mark Twain would say.
I was thinking that the first time I read this, so to speak, was my mom might have read it to us. It might have been in that set of books we had for chapter books for kids, for young readers. But then also maybe our 4th or 5th grade teacher read it to us aloud.
Oh,
She
wow.
read us Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn. I'm pretty sure. And then, of course, I read it in the Mark Twain seminar I took in college, where I read way too many Mark Twain books in one semester. Anyway. So I think I've read it at least twice, but I still don't have a good, I haven't retained a close plot memory of it, but I just remember that it's so much better than Tom Sawyer. I mean, there's just more there, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Tom Sawyer is a book for young boys.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a kind of a...
He's a rascal.
Yeah, he's a rascal. It's a fun book. And Huck Finn has a little of that in it.
Yeah, it begins.
Yeah, especially at the beginning.
Yeah.
And at the end, it kind of returns to that.
But it's interesting, I think, to think of as a writer, because obviously Twain probably knew he had a character he could use to explore some of these themes, right?
Yeah.
But it's also, I think, it could be another instance where a book went where the book needed to go. And sometimes you don't know as a writer where you're going to go with something.
Yeah.
And you don't maybe understand the depths that you'll unearth with your, plot, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because when he probably formed the character of Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer, he may not have known that this was going to be where this guy was going to go.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But I think he does know where it's going to go from the beginning of this book.
Sure.
Because, one question to ask is, why does he have Huck Finn tell the story? Tom Sawyer is told in the third person.
Oh, right. And Huck Finn is first person.
Immediately puts his voice in front of you. You don't know me without you have read a book by a Mr. Mark Twain called Tom Sawyer.
Right.
And so he's deliberately changing the point of view to the young boy himself, who I think has planned from the beginning is going to make this moral leap.
Right. And you need to be inside his mind to experience.
And you also need to be inside his mind at the different parts.
Right.
If Twain had written it in the third person during the early chapters, he'd be saying things like, at that time Huck thought this.
Right. He had to.
And Twain is very vehement about showing, not telling. He's the one that...
Maybe that's why Hemingway likes him so much.
Probably, yeah, because that's certainly what Hemingway does. But, Mark Twain is famous for saying, don't say the old lady screamed. Bring her on and let her scream.
Wasn't it Achebe when we talked about Things Fall Apart, where you talked about how he wrote that book in English?
Yeah.
Because it was not for people in his home country.
Yeah.
It was for English-speaking readers.
Yeah.
And I think
who were familiar with things like Conrad's Heart of Darkness.
Right. And I think it's important to make that distinction here, too, is that Twain is writing, I would guess, for white readers.
Yeah.
So he has a first person, that rascally boy, I want to read more what he does.
Yeah.
Narrator. And then pretty soon, before you know it, you're getting schooled.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's interesting to me that Ellison is a defender of the novel.
Yeah.
And probably, I shouldn't speak for Ellison, partly maybe he could see that this book has a role to play for white readers.
Yeah. And Hemingway criticized the ending.
Oh.
He said that after Huck tears up the letter, that should have ended the book. Because what happens after that, and I guess I won't go into much detail about what happens after that.
I think you've given away a lot of it.
Well, not.
I think this is spoiler safe. Come on.
Well, okay. As the book ends, Huck is going to try to spring Jim.
Right.
And it happens that Jim has been sold to Tom Sawyer's uncle and aunt.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't realize that. But he goes there and he pretends to be Tom Sawyer because he finds out that it's Tom Sawyer's uncle and aunt. And since he knows everything that Tom Sawyer knows,
right.
He can pretend to be Tom. And then Tom Sawyer appears, who's come to visit them, and claims to be his brother Sid. And Jim is being...
It's like an Oscar Wilde play up in here.
Yeah. Jim is being held in this shack near the house. Mm-hmm. And Tom has all these crazy plans about how to get him loose. And he's got to stay there for 2 weeks or something while they plan all these elaborate things that they're going to do to spring him. And Hemingway said that this is... That part is ridiculous. But Ellison said he defended the ending. He
interesting.
said that Hemingway had got it all wrong. Yeah, he said that Hemingway completely missed the structural, symbolic, and moral necessity for that part of the plot in which the boys rescued Jim. Yet it is precisely this part which gives the novel its significance. And I think the reason for that is that that's where you see the real contrast at this point between Huck and Tom Sawyer.
Yeah.
And Tom Sawyer is still in the old society.
Right.
He's still thinking in terms of that society, and
Yeah.
Huck is not. And he has objections
Because
to everything
he's-
that Tom wants to do because he wants to get Jim out of there as quick as he can. And that's the important thing, not having fun playing games.
Let's have adventures.
Yeah.
He's grown up in a way, right?
Yeah.
Well,
and you
what's
really see him growing up because in the beginning he's playing with Tom Sawyer and doing all these fake adventures, and in the end, that's what Tom Sawyer wants to keep doing. But Huck has outgrown that, and he's outgrown Tom Sawyer.
what is it? The biblical, the scales have fallen from his eyes.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's true.
He sees that for Jim, this isn't a question of, what will we do to occupy our time today?
Yeah.
This is literal life and death,
Yeah,
and that Jim's life is worth saving.
yeah.
Well, what do you find lovable about this book? How did it make it onto your list? Because there's lots of books about, moral development and that are, interesting and compelling reads.
Yeah, and this is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's particularly interesting because of the sort of psychological development
Mm-hmm.
of Huck, which you don't expect, I guess, in a book that's at least begins as if it's a boy's adventure book.
Right, right.
So I think that's the most lovable thing about it. But it's also lovable as a boy's adventure book. I mean, that's one of the appeals. And the characters that they meet along the way. Well, it's funny to see the Duke and the Dauphin.
I remember them.
All their hijinks.
Yeah.
Trying
Yeah.
to make money at the different towns that they go by basically bilking people until finally they have a plan to basically impoverish 3 young girls whose father has died and left them all this money. And they've plotted how they're going to steal the money from them. And that's the point at which, again, Huck has a growing moment there. He's sort of gone along with them along the way because he didn't think there was anything else he could do. Not that he is proud of them or anything, but at this point he's had enough, and he's going to do something to stop this from happening. And then there's the Sheppersons and the Grangersons, who are it's another place where he's gotten separated from Jim, and he's been taken in by this family. That it turns out they've been having a feud with this other family for 30 years. And people are getting killed all over. And Huck sort of seems to think of it as kind of adventurous. And then he witnesses every male in that family killed, including the boy that's his own age. So there are these interesting experiences that they have along the river, but all of them contribute to Huck's change of heart.
Well, and I think it's interesting. It's interesting for anybody because you can read this novel and then think about the things that you accept from your culture where you've had maybe a crisis of conscience, or not even a crisis, just something niggling like this. I don't think this is right. I don't think. And then when you, because Huckleberry Finn is with Jim and gets to see for himself that this is a human being worthy of respect,
and who
has
helps,
his own dignity,
who actually saves him several times,
right?
By things that he
does. Right. That Jim is also a moral character.
Yeah. Then
he starts to be able to listen to maybe a part of his conscience that was aware this isn't okay, right?
Yeah.
And you can take that to any part of your life, right? You can see that in any area where, I've changed my mind on things, social issues over time because I thought one thing and then I learned more about it and realized that is not actually how that works. Or, what I thought before was based on what I knew before, but now I know something different and I can think something different. I think it was the Dalai Lama who said that if your moral positions cannot be maintained when confronted by evidence to the contrary, they should not be maintained.
Good point.
So I think that's really interesting. But I have a couple more questions. This book is banned, and we'll talk. I think we can just go ahead and talk now about why people may not like this book, because I want to talk in this kind of section on the lovability of the book, because I think that people love it for the same reason people hate it. Right?
Yeah, I think that's true.
So it is one of the most banned books in the United States.
Yes, actually, even from the moment it was published, it was being challenged or banned in some places.
I'm sure.
Because of the language, particularly. It was thought to be too coarse.
But he does write the way people talked.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's because it's told in Huck's colloquial language, and nothing like it had been published before in America.
Right.
So a number of libraries, including some in Boston and New York, wouldn't put the book on their shelves, citing its coarseness and rudeness of its language and its humor. And Louisa May Alcott remarked that if Twain couldn't think of something better to tell our pure-minded lads and lasses, he had best stop writing for them. And Twain himself was kind of amused by these reactions.
Yeah.
He, at one time, he wrote, "Should we say that men can't eat steaks because babies can't chew them with their gums?"
Oh, it's an interesting analogy.
Yeah. He also said, "The mind that becomes soiled in youth can never again be washed clean." So he writes as if he's agreeing. "I know this by my own experience, and to this day I cherish an unappeased bitterness against the unfaithful guardians of my young life, who not only permitted but compelled me to read an unexpurgated Bible through before I was 15 years old. None can do that and ever draw a clean, sweet breath again on this side of the grave."
He was good at the snark.
Yes, he was.
He would have been good for our social media age, I think.
Yeah.
Memes and snark.
Yeah.
Clapbacks.
So by the late 20th century, by 100 years after the book was written, it was the most taught book in American high schools. But it was also the fifth most often banned book.
Right.
And the chief reason is that people think of it as racist. And the chief reason they do is because there are 219 N-words in this book.
Also, it sounds like if you don't read very far into it, you may say this because you are at the beginning where Huckleberry Finn is expressing racist views.
Yeah.
Because his views are racist.
Yeah. So, it's understandable.
Yeah.
If you don't read the whole book or you don't understand the book. And I listened to this book before we sat down to talk about it.
For your rereading, you listened to it.
Yeah. And I listened to a recording done by Elijah Wood, which is interesting because one of the best film versions of Huckleberry Finn starred Elijah Wood.
That's right.
Finn
That's right.
in his pre-Hobbit days,
Right.
and Courtney Vance as Jim.
Oh, wow.
So we've got a guy who played Huck Finn reading Huck Finn.
Very interesting. Interesting.
But anyway, in reading it and hearing it, it is difficult to not feel like you're being smacked over the head
Oh, sure.
every few words when that N-word comes up again. It's not like it's just there a few times.
Right. It's pervasive.
It's pervasive. And so I can understand people being put off by it. You do have to understand that this is a voice from 1840 Missouri, not a refined voice at all. And this is how such a person would have talked. In fact, in 1884, when the book was published, that's how most people would have talked. Most white people would have talked. Well, black people too.
Well, I think that happens a lot. When a book's kind of takeaways, so to speak, are nuanced and complex, the easiest thing, especially if they're unsettling, the easiest thing to do is say, don't read it.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I have complex feelings about this. This is a complicated experience for me. I'm uncomfortable, right? And saying on the other side of my discomfort is awareness, is enlightenment. And I think that's what happens, and that's why those discussions are hard to have in public places with a lot of emotion and vitriol, is because all you have to do is say how many times the N-word appears in the book, and everybody who hasn't read it or doesn't understand the, Huckleberry Finn's moral journey is going to be like, yeah, I don't want my kid to read that. Whereas I guess I grew up with a librarian mother who was like, I can help you understand this. We can talk about this. We can work through this together, right? If you're curious, here are more things you can read, right? To help you understand this book.
Well, if Twain were alive today, he would be flabbergasted at the way people are reacting to his book by calling it racist and because of the N-word, which in his day most people would have still been using. He was, he, like Huck Finn, grew up in the same kind of society and had been conditioned, I guess you could say, to those same attitudes. But he had married into an abolitionist family. He had met Frederick Douglass. He personally was very clearly anti-slavery. He had written an anti-lynching essay in 1869. He'd also written an essay condemning the prejudice against the Chinese in San Francisco. And what's maybe the most memorable act, I guess, in 1885, the year after Huck Finn came out, Twain wrote to the dean of the law school at Yale University about one of the first black students to apply to the Yale Law School, a guy named Warner McGuinn, and offered to pay his tuition. And in the letter that he wrote to the dean, he said, "We have ground the manhood out of them, and the shame is ours, not theirs, and we should pay for it."
That makes me tear up.
So to condemn the book as racist is not to understand Mark Twain as a person at all.
Right.
And really isn't to understand
the book itself.
The book itself, although, as I say,
it's hard
to take.
Right.
There was in 1955, CBS presented a television movie version of the novel, and they wanted to avoid all controversy.
So they didn't do it.
So they omitted all references to slavery in the novel, and they cut the character of Jim. So you can imagine how that worked out.
So Huck Finn was just going down the river running into these characters and having
himself,
little adventures.
Yeah, I guess so.
Ooh, okay. Well, that's excellent. I won't watch that one. I think I'll stick with the Elijah Wood one. But before we move on, I want to just mention one other thing, which is, wasn't there a very super popular novel that came out last year called James?
Yep.
Which kind of is a corporeal reminder of what Hemingway said. All modern American literature is based on this book.
That's
because
right.
here's a contemporary novel based exactly on this book.
Yeah.
You read that book, correct?
Yeah, it's a retelling of Huckleberry Finn from
Jim's point of view.
So Jim is the narrator.
Yeah.
It was published in 2024 by Percival Everett,
Yeah.
as the author.
Yeah.
And it won the National Book Award.
Okay.
It was a finalist for the Pulitzer. And it was a finalist for the Booker Prize.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
And it's certainly worth reading. Once you got past sort of the climax, it goes off in a completely different direction than the novel does.
Right.
So don't read it as a substitute.
Right. It's a companion.
Read it as a companion.
It's in, well, as we say here a lot, it's in conversation with.
Yeah, it is.
And that's, well, it's fascinating. And it was funny because our producing sensei, Jerry Bruno, received this book from 3 different people. We gave him one and he was like, thanks. And we realized he already had it.
Got 2
twice.
others.
Everybody thought Jerry would like it, which I believe he did.
I believe he did. But he could probably have taken a book to work, one at home, one
just have it everywhere.
Just have it
He didn't
anywhere
need
that
it on a
was going to
tablet. He
sit
could just
down
leave the
and
novel
so,
everywhere.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just wanted to mention that because it means that the conversation is still, obviously, in the United States, we still have a lot of understanding and growth to do around race.
Yeah.
So it's not like this book is not timely.
No.
Huckleberry Finn is not it's timely.
It is. Another important spin-off, I guess you could say, of the novel is famous musical Big River.
Oh, right, right.
That was popular, that came out actually in 1985, so almost exactly 100 years after
Right.
the novel. It was had a bluegrass score by Roger Miller. It garnered 7 Tony Awards, including one for Ronald Richardson, who's an operatic baritone who played Jim. Won the Tony. So it ran for more than 1,000 performances.
Right.
So it was a very popular
Yeah,
musical.
cool. So it's iterative.
It is.
I think we kind of talked about who might not like this book, but just kind of briefly before we go to the rankings, in terms of who might not like this book, just for the narrative of the book or the style of the book, not, keeping out why you might not like it if you don't understand or if you do understand and you don't want to be educated on race. But just in terms of picking up the book and the joy of reading it, which is, I think, that's how it got on your list. But
Yeah.
are there people who might not like that? I mean, maybe the picaresque, the episodic nature of it.
Maybe. It's hard to imagine. Well, it's a direct opposite, shall we say, to Little Women. Louise May Alcott did not like it.
Yeah.
It's about a coarse, unrefined
Right.
person who,
A rascal.
who might not be everybody's cup of tea.
Right. The trickster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think that's fair. So where are you ranking this book on your list?
I am putting this book at number 9.
Oh, very high. Okay. Top 10.
Right after Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, perfect. They
which
go
is,
together.
Yeah, same kind of
Yeah.
first-person narrative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right before Middlemarch.
And now for something completely different.
Yeah. If you like Middlemarch, you might not like
That's
Huckleberry
right.
Finn. It's a whole different kind
It's
of
a
book.
whole something another. Okay. Well, that's awesome. This was a fun revisit of that book. It has a
Okay.
lot to teach us. I should probably reread it
Yes, you should.
because I'm
Everyone
older
should read
now and we are where we are as a nation, and it's probably something to look into again.
Well, is it time then for Chaos Reader?
It is. I'll let you hold my coffee here. Yes, so we finished The Turn of the Screw, reading that aloud last night. So I let Jay choose a novel from my pile of to-be-read books. And he chose a book that he gave me, All the Light We Cannot See, which I believe I took to Ireland and did not start because I'm having reading issues this year. And then I bought the Sinead O'Connor book there, so I wanted to start reading that. This, All the Light We Cannot See, is a book that everybody seems to have read except for me. And now we are going to read it aloud. So we haven't actually started it yet, but it is a winner of the Pulitzer Prize. by Anthony Doerr, and I will check back in because it's quite long, so I'm sure I will have an occasion to report back on how it's going.
At least once.
I'm looking forward to it, so thank you. And thanks for the book, and thanks for picking it. And we want to thank all of our listeners. Please continue to share our podcast and interact with it on your podcast platforms. That helps us. And we're just really glad you're out there listening. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Between the covers.